Bill O'Reilly says that if the media covered up his decline, it wasn't so much to protect Biden as it was for their hatred of Trump. Now, that is also exactly what I think. So this is one of my favorite nights to have Bill O'Reilly on. Bill O'Reilly, it's good to see you. And good luck on your trip.
Thank you. We're off to China, and we'll have extensive reporting on News Nation when I get back.
Now, is this true that this is an extension of 23andMe and that you actually have family there? Is that true?
Maybe. I'm open to all suggestions, Cuomo.
So,
but we got a nice invitation.
What do you make of the idea that these savvy guys, okay, known for being savvy political insiders, were hoodwinked by the Biden administration into believing he was just fine?
Number one, I don't make anything of anything, and it's a cliche now, what do you make of it? What everybody is missing in this story is that people like Jake Tapper, and I don't want to pick on him, and full disclosure, I despise him, and I have for decades.
Full disclosure, I don't.
just, yeah, look, different strokes for different folks, as Sly and the Family Stone once said. But I'm not the guy to talk about Jake Tapper because I just think he's the worst. But what he did, irrefutably, was what I'd say 75% of television journalists do. They're mercenaries. They sell out for the money. CNN's posture, and you know this, you worked there, is that the Democrats are better than the Republicans, the MAGA people and Trump are bad, and they peddle that for more than a decade. Jake gets a big check from them. He's not going to go against that orthodoxy. But it's not just him. It's people on Fox. They do what they're told. It's people on MSNBC. They're the worst. And, you know, Joe Scarborough used to be a Republican. Oh, come on. Nicole Wallace worked for Bush the Younger, I think. It's ridiculous. That's what's happening. So people want to make money in the media. They're offered a contract. As part of the contract, they have to do what they're told to do.
But CNN didn't pay him for this book.
No. It's not about the book. It's about him and his tenure at CNN, which led him to be soft on Biden because the network wanted Biden to beat Trump, as you pointed out.
But why would you write this book when you know it's so easy to show that you went along?
Because of money. Tapper wants money. And now I know how the book business works because I'm the best-selling nonfiction author in the world. So Tapper and this other person, who I don't know, pitched the book through an agent to a publishing house, or maybe two or three, and the publishing house writes out an advance check. But Tapper has to tell the publishing house what the book is. Mm-hmm. Can't say, well, I'm just going to write a book and find out where it lies. No. Book has to come in, I'm going to scorch the Biden administration. I'm going to say that there was a cover-up about his mental acuity, and they write a check probably around $500,000 to both authors, and then they get a back-end deal where how many books they sell. They did it for the money, and they are on television for the money. This is what people don't understand. They think that journalism is some pure profession. It's so corrupt, it's nauseating.
I don't know. I think it's better.
Nauseating.
I think it's better than most things. I've been around. I think there are a lot of people who do it for the right reasons. I think there's a lot of pressure on the media right now, and a lot of it is.
Stop it.
I do. A lot of it is unfair. There's so many false
a lot of pressure
narratives.
on the media.
Listen,
no pressure.
Bill.
Look, Cuomo, there's no pressure on me.
Bill.
It's easy for me.
Yeah, it's because
I
you're
just
part
tell you
of
the
that
truth
world.
backed up by facts.
You're one of their guys. What I'm saying is, as someone who's not one of their guys,
I'm an independent.
They like you.
Totally independent.
They like you. Okay.
Maybe they like me because I'm fair to them. Maybe they like me because I'm fair to them.
I would definitely say you're fair to them. I would say even more so. You're the best they could hope for.
Well, then you'd have to prove it.
What I'm saying is...
you'd have to prove it.
Okay,
and you can't.
I'll
you
put
can't back
a
it up.
list. What are you talking about? I could put a list.
No,
if I had
here's what I'm talking
firecrackers
about,
blow
Cuomo.
off three fingers on my hand, I could say how many times you went after Trump on this show.
Oh, baloney. That's a lie.
It's not a lie.
Can't back
it's
it
the
up.
Truth. I just backed it
Yes,
up.
it is. It's absolutely a... I can get... No, you can't. Run a clip. I criticize Trump all the time. He's mad at me half of the time because I call him the way it is.
All right, anyway,
look,
this isn't about you.
You got the clips, run the clips. You don't have them.
This isn't about you. I got plenty of clips of you saying stuff. How many times have you said,
Well,
Bill, something that you've never said about anybody else except Trump, which is, that's how he is. That's what he says. That's what he's going to do. You know, like you were excusing a dog. You know.
Not excusing,
anybody else,
it's an
you would excoriate
explanation.
them.
No. It's an explanation of why he does what he does. The reason I'm going to China is because the United States of Trump is a very hot book in Beijing, and the government invited me there to talk about the United States of Trump, because the book is a factual basis on how Donald Trump runs his life, and by extension, the country. That's why I'm going there. If they thought I was in the tank for Trump, they wouldn't have invited me. But they know that on subjects like Greenland, on subjects like Putin, and I have been, look, you can laugh all you want. You can be condescending and
I'm not condescending. I'm laughing. You say subjects like Greenland. Like, what was there to Greenland? You think Trump is going to do anything with Greenland? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying.
I said he
Come on.
I told him he shouldn't be saber-rattling about Greenland.
Yeah, you were right.
What do you want?
No. Here's what I want. I want to get off you as a topic. What I'm saying is, with this book and what they did, there is no cover-up of Biden's health. What they did was certain members of the media decide to not push it the way they would have if it was Trump's health. If it was Trump who had a mental acuity problem to the same degree as Biden's, they're both old guys, but they would have jumped all over it 24/7. But they didn't want Trump to win. So they played down what was obvious about Biden. But it's not that there was a cover-up by his staff. What did we not know that there is to know? That he forgets names and dates? We saw that on TV together.
You don't, look, out of his staff and the Democratic Party came a consistent drumbeat of the guy's on it, the guy's good, the guy's doing his job, the guy's good for America, consistent almost every day. Then they keep him away from the press. He doesn't talk to the press, okay? That's covering up who he is.
Not spinning.
And then every time he made a mistake, there was another excuse. And then the CNNs of the world and the MSNBCs of the world, open border, they didn't care about the open border. All right, inflation going more than 9%.
Different. That has nothing to do with his mental health.
They didn't care about that.
That's just bad policy.
Sure it does. But he didn't make the policies. He didn't make them. That's what you're making your mistake. He was a zombie from day one.
I've talked to him about his immigration policies. They were all the same ideas. You know, he believes that there's an openness to this country and that we need new blood. And he was worried about the left flank. Look, I don't have to agree with you. You can yell at me.
Absurd. It's an absurd contention when you have all the problems that developed. It's absurd.
I agree that the position is a bad position. I get it's a bad position. I don't agree with you about that. I think he had good days and a lot of bad days. And I know people who are around him on a regular basis who would say, today he was good. Oh, yesterday he forgot where we were supposed to be. You know, I mean, he's an old guy.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that because my mother had a condition similar.
Yeah, my father.
She had some good days.
Yeah.
But they deteriorated.
Yeah.
But Biden was not running the government. And the book says that Ron Klain was running it, and that's probably true. You may remember I was the first journalist on television in the country on News Nation. I made the announcement that Biden would not run again. Okay? He wouldn't. I made that in January talking to Leland Vitter. You can pull a clip. And you knew, and what you said was true. You knew it. I knew it. He wasn't in charge. He couldn't run the country. Now, let's advance the story, Cuomo.
I think it's that he couldn't win.
This is an easy one. He couldn't do the job. This is an easy one. PSA test. Did Colonel O'Connor give it to him in February of 2024?
No,
yes,
as far as we know.
No.
Last one was in 2014.
Because O'Connor hasn't said a word.
No, the last one we see in the records they released was 2014.
We need to find out if a PSA test was given to President Biden in February of 24.
Why?
If it was not, why not?
But why do I care?
This is advancing the story.
That's not it. But who cares if he had prostate cancer or not? Prostate cancer isn't debilitating. People work through the treatment. You have a 97% success rate. Who cares?
You don't think You don't think the American people have a right to know
Now?
if their president has cancer?
This is what you want to spend time on when you got Kristi Noem doesn't know what habeas corpus means, but I got to talk about Biden's fundament?
Now we got to go into Kristi Noem.
Yeah, because it matters, Bill.
That matters. People
that matters to the American people. Come on, Bill. Give me a chance here.
Do another segment on it.
No, I am
do
doing
another segment on Kristi Noem. Has nothing to do with Joe Biden.
It has to do with what you decide to focus on. You believe that the American people have their interests served better by knowing whether or not Joe Biden had a prostate exam when president than in discussing the fact that the woman that Donald Trump says is the best to keep us safe does not know what the core protection in the Constitution is against illegal detention. You don't think that matters as much as Biden's ass?
It's absurd. It's like comparing the NFL to the Women's Basketball Association. The American people have a right to know if their sitting president has cancer. Period. They have a right to know it. That's it. Kristi Noem doesn't matter to that.
I don't agree, by the way. We know they don't have a right. We know they don't have a right. They have at best an invitation to a privilege because the presidents have a pattern of only telling us what they want to. So you have no right. It is a privilege. That's why we get from Trump that he's my size and weight.
To know? I have never heard you like this.
Hey,
you don't think the American public has a right to know if a sitting president has cancer?
Bill, I'm telling you this.
Are you blanking kidding me?
No, Bill, here's what I'm saying to you.
Are you kidding me?
Bill, I'm not kidding you. You're saying they have a right. They absolutely do not have a right because we only get what they want to tell us. That's all we get. We have no right to it. There's no mandatory reporting. No, but that's how a right works. A right is something that is guaranteed and executed. We don't have that. That's why Trump gets to say he's my size, because we don't get the truth. We don't get transparency. We get what they want to tell us, right? In this instance, that's what it is. My point is prostate cancer.
You are so desperately wrong.
How am I desperate? What did I just say that is not factually correct?
The American people have a right to know about the health, both mental and physical, of a sitting president.
Then why is it okay
the Constitution
for Trump to describe his weight as maybe 60 pounds below what it is? What?
Now we're on Trump. Okay.
Well, he's not
Whatever
president?
He's doing, do another segment on it.
No,
Stay on
that's
track
not how it
here
works.
with Biden.
Just because you don't want to talk about something doesn't mean I got to make it later. It's all related to the same conversation.
Talk about anything you want.
You can't tell me that prostate cancer, you're saying that we should have known about Biden as if he had a condition that was kept from us that was material to his performance as president. And you know that's not true.
Absolutely. No, that's ridiculous. If a person has cancer, of course it's affecting his whole life. What is wrong with you tonight? I've never heard you like this.
Bill, there are different kinds of cancer.
This is so irrational, I can't believe it.
Bill,
the Constitution
do you know
gives
anybody
the press
who's had prostate cancer?
Privileges. Yeah, I know plenty of people have had it.
Of course you do.
I'm not making a judgment on
Of course you do. And they all work through it.
I'm telling you.
You don't know anybody who died from it?
Fine. The American people have a right to know.
But then why doesn't any president give them the truth about their health? Why does it have to be Biden?
You ask any president. Why does it have to be Biden? Look, if you want to try to justify this unbelievable cover-up that's going to rise as high as Watergate,
what is the cover-up? Watergate?
How is
Biden's prostate exam worse than Watergate? I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, give it to me because, boy, you're killing yourself tonight.
Oh, yeah. I'm killing myself.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You have a right as an American citizen, Cuomo, to know if your president is infirmed mentally or physically.
I agree.
The Constitution gave the privilege to the press to keep an eye on these people so that we would know their status and condition. In Watergate, they covered up a crime.
Yes.
If Colonel O'Connor gave a PSA test that showed Biden had cancer and kept it from the public, that is a crime. All right?
I don't think it is.
So I don't understand.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it's a crime.
Because you
don't want to think it.
No, I have no problem with it being a crime. I just don't think it's a crime. What would the crime be?
The crime was, he said, that Biden was in fine health,
right,
both mentally and physically.
Right.
And if he gave the PSA and a PSA says he had cancer, that's fraud. That's a lie. He can go to prison, and he should.
I don't think the end part of that is right, but we also don't know that there was any such PSA test given. So you guys are just assuming they covered something up. How is there a cover-up?
Get him in. Testify under oath before a House or Senate committee.
And you think that's a good use of Congress's time?
The best. The best.
I wish you a very good vacation. You need the rest. Enjoy your trip over there. Don't run your mouth. I don't want them to keep you there.
It's a working vacation.
I don't want to have to come get you, Bill O'Reilly. All right? So just make sure you come back. You'd be better off if they kept me there, Cuomo. Hey.
that was crazy. With good television.
All TV aside,
okay.
I like having you on here. I like having you in my life. Don't get stuck in China.
It was very good television. No, we won't. It was very good television, and the audience can make up their own mind. We both put our cases up, and that's the way it should be.
My man, take care. Enjoy your trip. Be well. I'll talk to you soon. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Coming up. So we've never seen 10 people break out of a jail like this. Why did it happen? All right, so we got two different prongs of concern. One is some of these are really bad guys. How close are they to getting them? Is there any further threat? The second one is why it happened and who should be blamed. The governor of Louisiana is coming on tonight. He's very concerned, Governor Jeff Landry. He says he has a theory about this, and it's the progressives. Really? I need to know. Next. How did so many guys get out at once in that jail in New Orleans? 10 inmates at once. And they got out at 1 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't discovered until like 7 hours later. And then they didn't tell the authorities statewide for a while after that. Let's bring in the governor. Governor Landry of Louisiana. Very nice of him to take the opportunity. Gov, thank you very much for being on News Nation with us tonight, especially in this time when I know you're on high alert.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So, Gov, just a couple of quick things. I won't waste your time. The first one is, where are you in this state of play of finding these guys, and what's the biggest concern about those who are still on the outside?
Well, first of all, I want to thank, and a big shout out to the FBI, ATF, the U.S. Marshals, Troop NOLA, the Louisiana State Police, and NOPD. Those guys, those men and women have been working around the clock, Chris, to apprehend these fugitives. Right now, we've got 4 out of 10 that have been apprehended. We've got a $20,000 bounty per head that's being offered between Crime Stoppers in New Orleans and the FBI. So $20,000 for anybody who will give us a legitimate tip under which we can make an arrest. I'm hoping that we grab a couple more in the next 24 hours or so. Every hour that goes by certainly creates a problem for us to continue to find them. There are 10 of the most dangerous people that were incarcerated in Louisiana. This is the largest jailbreak I can find in the history of the state.
So I have a couple of you in my family, governors, right? Chief executives. And ordinarily, when it comes to prison breaks, buck stops with them. You're saying you take responsibility, but it's not your fault. This is about progressive politics. How so?
Well, first of all, you need to remember that this jail is not under the state of Louisiana's jurisdiction. It is under the sheriff's jurisdiction. That falls, it's like, say, a county. Here in Louisiana, we have parishes, Chris. So this was a county jail. The problem that I have is the fact that that system in that jail has people that have been sitting in those jail cells waiting for sentences. If they were sentenced, then they become my problem. I get to take them and put them in a state facility. They have people that have been sitting in those jails for years, either between the DA and the judges that are constantly keeping them there and not being able to either try them or get them pleaded so that, again, we can process them and put them into state care. Here's what I know. What I said yesterday was the fact that George Soros came over the last decade or so and spent a ton of money in the city of New Orleans electing these progressive people. It's like he came with Santa Claus, and underneath and inside the sack, he put out a DA, a sheriff, and I think about 6 judges. And we have been having problems in that city. ever since. Now, when I became governor, we instituted the state police, its own troop down there, sent them down there, and we've been able to make a ton of arrests. In fact, we've got 500 cases that are in the system. However, those folks, 5 out of those 10 committed crimes while they were in jail. And the DA refused those charges. My point is that the system as a whole is broke in that city, and we intend to fix it.
Well, having problems with law enforcement in New Orleans is nothing new. It's not going to shock anybody, but I understand what you're saying about the politics. My understanding is that the woman who's running as sheriff there, who is a Democrat, may be suspending her campaign because of this. Is that true?
That's what I understood. I found that out right before we came, before I came on the show, and that's what I heard. Look, I can tell you that I toured that facility before she became elected. There was a prior sheriff, Sheriff Marlon Gussman. That jail is not that old, Chris.
Right.
It was built after Katrina, and to have 10 guys walk out of that jail or basically scurry out the front door is certainly problematic, and it's certainly concerning. Hours
that people didn't know when they were supposed to be staffed. I've had Marlon Gussman on a couple of times helping me figure this out. And, you know, he's like, the staffing should have been different. The alert structure should have been a lot earlier. So there are obviously problems. The feds, in a monitoring capacity, said the same thing. So we'll see if it can get fixed. And, Governor, we're here to get the word out of anything you think matters to the public. I hope these guys don't do anything else bad on the outside.
Me neither, Chris, but I can tell you what, we are hunting them down, and as fast as we can get the tips in and as fast as we can pick them up, we are. And where I'm sending them, they're not getting out.
All right, Gov, you're always welcome here at News Nation. Thank you for coming on to make the case.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, Governor Jeff Landry, be well. 4 minutes and 30 seconds coming up. Another case getting a lot of attention on social media. Now, I didn't know anything about this. I don't even know how to pronounce Megan Thee Stallion's name right. I got to depend on 2 of my daughters. But I'll tell you what I do know. For Member of Congress Paulina Luna to take an interest in the case of rapper Tory Lanez, if that's even his name, Lanez. See, I'm telling you, I didn't know anything about it. But now it's becoming a thing. He was sentenced to 10 years. Paulina Luna, who I do know, says they have the wrong guy, and she's got the goods. Now, I don't even understand why she's interested, but I'm going to find out with you next. (2022) Singer, rapper Tory Lanez convicted of shooting performer Megan Thee Stallion after a party at the Hollywood Hills home of Kylie Jenner. Here's the story. They're at the party. After the party, they get into an argument. Lanez tells Megan Thee Stallion, dance, and shoots at her feet like a cowboy movie, hits her. Proof? Testimony of Megan Thee Stallion, her friend Kelsey Harris, and DNA evidence on the weapon that convinced jurors to convict. Pretty simple, right? Maybe not. Turns out that DNA, only a 0.01% chance that the DNA is from Lanez. He's always maintained his innocence. He was sentenced to 10 years, so this is really about the testimony. Lanez, so what happens? So he goes away, recently stabbed 14 times in prison. Many say it was a hit, okay? Because new evidence is about to come out. All right, a little conspiratorial, but he was definitely stabbed. Lanez's supporters believe that the media doesn't care because Megan Thee Stallion is represented by Jay-Z's Rock Nation. Now, I could give a damn about Jay-Z or his company. This just wasn't a case on my radar until now. Why? Paulina Luna. She is a representative from Florida. You see her here on a regular basis. She says she's got new evidence, says it wasn't him. And she joins us now. Representative APL, it's good to have you.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be back on. And thanks for taking a look at this case.
No, listen, you tell me to take a look at it, I'll look at it. But why did you look at it? I mean, this isn't your jurisdiction. I don't know you to have any connection to any of these people.
Yeah, so as you know, we are on oversight and accountability. And so this case was actually initially flagged for me by Amber Rose. And the reason why I took a particular interest in it is because of the fact that they actually had evidence that they presented to me in my office that actually disproved the conviction. So as you stated earlier, that 0.01% of DNA, they actually found 4 people's DNA on that firearm, none of which was Tory's. Not to mention there was 0 fingerprints on the actual magazine. And also, too, as you said, 0.01% chance. I mean, that evidence in itself should pretty much speak for itself. Also, there's been ring footage that's been obtained that actually disproves the whole dance, Megan. And so what we're seeing is really there was a case of he said, she said. The evidence wasn't actually respected and properly adhered to actually in the trial. And then they also were doing something that I would find pretty wild and egregious. They're actually submitting his lyrics for rap as evidence to the crime. So look, first and foremost, you have to have a free and fair society. That means we need to respect and uphold the justice system. So I actually reached out today to Gavin Newsom's office, and we are requesting an emergency meeting. We're also working with other Democrats, specifically to the California delegation. But I think that this is something that's pretty egregious, that the way that this was handled, the way that it was. I think that it was largely driven by headlines. And aside from the people involved and the parties involved, obviously I take domestic violence, I take this very seriously, Chris, but I also take very seriously the fact that I do believe, based on the evidence that I've seen, that Tory's innocent. And I think that it sets a really bad message when you have someone of his stature, and also to someone that is as influential as he is, that's being wrongfully incarcerated. And that's exactly why we wanted to use our megaphone for a good reason and help get him his pardon, which I think he'll get.
So Luna, who did it? I mean, she says, and her friends say, that he did it, and who else would have done it, and what proof do you have to support that? I get it. Maybe they didn't make the case the right way with the weapon, but who did it?
You know, Chris, that's not for me to weigh in, and that's definitely for the judge and the jury. But what I will tell you is, based on the evidence that we have, the evidence that we have says that he wasn't the guy. And so I do think that Gavin Newsom has some great attorneys that will look at this. But I'd also like to point out that the prosecutor specifically on this case that initially brought the charges is a very interesting prosecutor. Look into who ran him. And at the end of the day, you know, I think Hollywood, as you know, Chris, and politics does overlap, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened there. So look at the evidence for yourself. We've posted it for the entire world to see, to determine for themselves. And I know that Tory's legal team actually has an incredible case. And so we are calling on Gavin Newsom to issue that pardon immediately. And also remember, he was almost killed in jail. I actually talked to him today on the phone, and he said that once he does get out, once he does get this pardon, which I do feel confident that he'll be getting, he's going to work extensively in prison reform, because this should never happen to anyone.
Anna Paulina Luna, this is a really interesting one. I've never covered a situation like this before, but I appreciate you using your platform, and let the legal team know. We'll be reaching out if they want to come on to make the case. I'm happy to hear it, and we'll check in with the governor's office as well. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah. Of course. And Chris, too, if you want, we can probably connect you with his dad as well. I think it's important for people to know all the facts.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'll check in with you right after the show. Thank you very much. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Coming up, prosecution called 4 more witnesses in the Sean Diddy Combs case. One of them is an exotic dancer who calls himself the Punisher. Another is the mother of Diddy's ex, Cassie Ventura. Did they help prosecution or defense, and why? I've got it summed up for you. Light and tight, next. Okay, what mattered in day 7 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial? Well, they had 4 witnesses. You had Diddy's former assistant, the agent who led the raid on Combs' Miami home, Cassie Ventura's mother, and an exotic dancer known as the Punisher. The last 2 matter most, says who? Trial attorney Misty Maris in the courthouse, giving me the down low right now. Thank you very much for being with me. What do I need to know?
Yeah, it was a big day in court today. So David James, Diddy's assistant, this was from 2007 to 2009. He was supposed to testify, according to the prosecution, about the means and methods of the RICO conspiracy. He did not, Chris. He was actually better for the defense. When asked what his purpose was, it was to help Diddy be high-functioning in his job as an executive for multiple large companies. He also testified about how personal items like baby oil, Astroglide, condoms, they weren't charged to the corporation. He paid for those personally. So you see, we're starting to get this distinction, furthering the defense narrative about this is his personal life. He did say that there were 25 to 30 bottles of pills. He would set up rooms for Diddy. never saw a freak off, never saw violence between Cassie and Diddy. So ultimately, at the end of the day, said Bad Boy Records was a family, ended up being a better defense witness on cross. Then we get to Regina Ventura. So the defense had a win, and then the defense had a loss. Regina Ventura showed an email from 2011 from Cassie. In the email, it said to her mother, Diddy intends on basically releasing 2 sexually explicit videos of me. And he also threatened me and said that somebody is going to get me. He's not even going to be in the country. This was when he found out that she was dating Kid Cudi, who incidentally will be testifying this week. So her mother said she felt sick to her stomach hearing this. Cassie, she was then handed a binder, a black binder, and there were pictures of Cassie from Christmas Eve. Her mother went through the pictures, bruised. We saw this in court. We saw the photographs. She couldn't help herself from breaking down. She took those pictures to memorialize the violence. This is the first time she knew Cassie was in an abusive relationship and was shocked to hear about sexual.
But he's not on trial for an abusive relationship.
No, but listen to this. He demanded $20,000 from the parents, which she took out a home equity loan,
really?
Saying, yes, that he had spent $20,000 on Cassie. He was angry. He wanted that money back. So this is all going to play into this idea of extortion. And if I'm the prosecutor, Chris, I'm going to go back to 2011. I'm going to say, this is when Cassie realized if she doesn't comply, the sexually explicit videos are going to be out there. This is the blackmail, and also that she is in a threat of physical violence. So that was huge for the prosecutors.
What about
Punisher?
The Punisher?
Now the Punisher.
Love the TV show.
Yes,
I love the
well, the Punisher, he had 10 to 12 encounters over a course of a couple of years. Now, he never saw any violence, and he said that he is actually an exotic dancer. He's been with around many, many women. He doesn't usually have sexual intercourse, but that he reads a room when he comes in. There was never a time that he didn't think Cassie was consenting to the conduct. He did say that Diddy would direct them. He would say, do this, do that.
So why'd they have him on?
Left. Well, they had him on. I thought it was to establish a violation of the Mann Act, meaning transportation over state lines to engage in prostitution. All of this happened in New York. What I will say, he talked in great detail about the sexual exploits. And we've heard a lot about baby oil. I don't think baby oil's an element of any of the charges, but it had a lot of shock value in the courtroom.
Very interesting. A lot of theatrics going on.
A lot of theatrics.
Misty Maris, you're the best. Now I feel like I was there. Thank you very much. Not at the freak off, at the trial. Very clear.
Good
very
to know.
clear. All right, we'll be right back. You got to be clear these days.